Okay, getting ready.
I suppose, yeah.
All right, welcome everybody. We're excited for another installment of our Voices of Healthcare Cloud. I am your guest host today, Jake Thompson, part of our business applications team. No relation to my teammate Josh Thompson, but we've got an exciting topic today on data-driven patient engagement. But before we get to that topic, just some brief housekeeping items. We definitely want to hear from the audience. We encourage everyone to ask questions, so please ask. I'll show you all in a second how to chat something in the Q&A window. All of our questions are moderated. We do our best to answer in line, but some questions are good enough that we want to answer them in real time and live. So we will answer as many questions as we can, but we'll definitely promote some of these to the live chat. Just a reminder, this webcast will be recorded and we will post it to the Healthcare and Life Sciences blog after the session. Just a brief primer, if this is anybody's first time, the Q&A button to post a message, to post a comment, to post a question is right next to the leave button. Please don't leave. We want you to be here. Check the question mark button. Post your comment. You can post it with your name. You can post it anonymous, but we'd love to hear from you. This is a global audience that we've had, and we're tracking push pins on the map. So first question of the day, we'd love for y'all to just start out with, hey, this is where we're calling from. This is where we've joined from. We'd love to hear from you right out of the gate. And then last but not least, just you'll see these Q&A window on the side, and any moderated questions will show up here, as well as the answers. We have some upcoming sessions. Next week is Happy Turkey Day. Everybody enjoy time with your friends and family, and enjoy your Thanksgiving, but we'll be back here on December 1st. My teammate Nathan's going to be chatting about next generation patient contact call center. Big topic, exciting topic. How do we move something that's traditionally a business unit that's labeled a cost center to a profit center? So that'll be an exciting session, and look for more about that on social media, and as well as subscribing to this blog so you get updates. Now we want to get on to the presentation. I'm excited to invite my teammate Andy Rosenfeld. Andy, if you would love for you to come off or come on video, say hi to the audience, and I'll be back with some Q&A and to wrap us when you're finished. We're looking forward to your presentation. Andy, off to you.
Thanks, Jake. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andy Rosenfeld. I'm a technology specialist and the business applications group here at Microsoft. My focus is exclusively on healthcare and life sciences organizations, so it's my pleasure to be with you today. And let me share my screen and we'll get started. All right, so I'm here today to talk about Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, which is part of Microsoft's Customer Data Platform, or CDP as it's commonly called. Our focus is patient engagement and how that engagement impacts the bottom line for healthcare organizations. So we'll begin with an overview of customer insights, how creating a digital twin enables personalized patient engagement. We'll walk through what this looks like in a live environment from the perspective of a data manager, and we'll follow that with, how a unified patient profile is ultimately presented to end users on your marketing team. If you have any questions during the presentation, we've got people monitoring the chat, so please feel free to post your thoughts. We'll answer any outstanding questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So every organization is somewhere on this continuum of digital transformation. Companies are moving from an operational centric mindset to a customer-centric mindset. And then eventually, ideally, at some point, they fully transform to an experience-centric mindset. And that's important because customers today expect that every business they interact with, whether it's a retail store or a hospital or whatever it is going to deliver personalized experiences. So there was a time where we thought CRMs would be the answer, but CRMs haven't lived up to that expectation. We wanted a 360-degree view of our customers, or in our case, our patients. But because of the way our systems have evolved, it just wasn't possible. So for our use case today, let me introduce you to Maria. She's 23 years old. She has one young son, and she just learned that she's expecting again. So this is the story of how modern experience-centric healthcare organizations, for our purposes, the fictitious Contoso Healthcare, can create digital twins of their patients as they begin to engage throughout the patient journey. So we learn a little bit about Maria through every engagement. It could start with an email engagement, or maybe it could start with an ad, but through every touch point, we start to build out Maria's digital twin. Every organic search that's done, every interaction on social media, every SMS text message that's sent, every event that's attended, web page clicked, appointment gone to, customer services cases that are created. Maybe they bought medications from a pharmacy. And with every survey that's taken, a digital twin emerges. Ideally, we're taking surveys all along the way so we can figure out what's working, what's not working, and we can adapt in real time. But as you can see, Maria's digital twin is still not fully developed. To complete a more accurate profile, we can enrich the data on the left, and these are all of our first-party data sources, and by first-party I mean all the data that comes from within our own organization. We can enrich that with third-party data. It could be gender information, it could be socio-demographic data that you purchase. We have a unique data set called Microsoft Audience Intelligence that's included with customer insights that can do things like identify brands someone has an affinity for, or even identify their hobbies and their interests. And we also have partners who enrich profiles with things like claims data that can help us predict health risks. So as we come to better understand the customer, now our digital twin is completely formed. So what do we do with all this data? Well, the first thing we do is create what are called measures, which are the building blocks of segments in the CDP. To deliver personalized experiences, we have to understand that microsegmentation of our customer, and we do that with measures. So we can look at these measures different ways. We can look at them, in this case, through a time series to gain insight. So in this scenario, we see cases trending up, so we may not have a very happy patient. Total website engagement is trending down, probably not a good sign. And we can use artificial intelligence to determine what the next best action should be. The challenge is that Maria's data lives all over the place. It's not just confined to the systems that we have inside of our own organization. As we attract new patients, transact with them, and try to retain them, our patient data can get siloed, and that makes it really hard to understand who that patient is. We could have event data that we'll need for outreach to unknown patients like Maria, and that could be stored in a siloed system like Eventbrite. Our website data, where we gather information like device type, pages of interest, referring pages, there's another siloed data source. We might be using a marketing system where more data is siloed. Our clinical data, another silo. Same for our claims data, our support systems. And the way we've accommodated this in the past was with systems integration. So we had these massive MDM initiatives that were costly, very time consuming. And the result is a very complicated data estate that limits us to generic and reactive engagement as we attempt to attract and transact and retain patients. The quest for CDPs is to break down these silos and then to take the data that lives that about Maria that lives in each one of these silos and bring it into a modern analytics data store. Only then Maria begins to emerge and her digital twin becomes clearer and clearer because we've created a canonical or a single data model of patient data. We've taken little bits of data sitting in all these disparate systems, we brought it all together, and then we end up with a unified profile that tells us who Maria is. Now we can begin to deliver the personalized experiences that all of our customers have come to expect. And with this unified profile, I can microsegment, and then I can take predictive and prescriptive actions as I attempt to attract and transact and retain. So that was a high-level overview of customer insights. In just a minute, we're going to take a look at how this looks in a live environment. Just to take a quick break, anybody have any questions or thoughts from what you've seen so far? Anything in the chat that we need to address?
Yeah, hey Andy, Jake again. There's a question that's come up. Is this only going to benefit marketing? Obviously, marketers are trying to figure out with the deprecation of cookies and things with like iOS 15, reducing the amount of data they're getting from clickable tracking. Is it only benefiting marketing, or does it benefit other business units within the organization?
Well, I'd say that's basically up to you, but as just off the top of my head, say for instance, customer service, right? So you have a contact center agent, they might want to know some of these things. I mean, there's the obvious, like the number of cases that have been created, they probably would know that, but interests, churn risk, I mean, all those kinds of things would go into determining how a customer service representative might handle a call. So I think that it's really a matter of where you see the appropriateness of the data. It's not that it only works for marketing, but it's data that could be used for anybody who needs that kind of insight.
Awesome. And one other question I think is really important. Is this like a totally separate platform? Does this integrate? A lot of folks already have a lot of tools already in place today. Does this integrate with what they already have?
It absolutely integrates with what they have, and that's something that we'll talk about. When I go into the live demo, I'll show you the different ways that we bring data in and move data out. But it's a unified platform in the sense that these are all, that the Microsoft products all work well together, but they certainly integrate with existing systems. That's how we're pulling data in from all these silos.
Excellent. That's it for now in the chat window. I'll keep you posted if new ones crop up.
All right, and I will continue. So let me go to full screen here. So this is customer insights, and really it's intended for someone who's comfortable managing data, but that doesn't have to be a highly technical person. I guess that's the distinction. In the past, when we had to build these CDPs from the ground up, that required a technical user. But today, in literally seconds, and I mean literally seconds, we can spin up that same kind of system that used to take months to put together, and it can be used by non-technical people. So that's really what customer insights is. There's no code needed to create the things I'm going to show you. We don't want this to be dependent on IT. We want it to be owned by the business. So there are, and this gets to the question that Jake just brought up, but there are out-of-the-box connectors that facilitate our connections to a variety of systems like those that you see here. When I choose add a data source, I have a few options depending on where my data is. I'm just going to take the one that's going to show me all my connectors. So as you can see, we have quite a few out-of-the-box connectors that are available to us. Anything from an Excel workbook to SharePoint list, to Google Analytics, and so forth. So these are all the different ways that I could potentially bring in, and these are out-of-the-box ways for me to bring data into customer insights. And if we look here now, so now, as I said, we can bring this in from multiple sources. So I have data coming from my CRM. I have data coming from my ERP, from my EMR. I even have third-party risk analysis sources. So once we have our data sources brought into customer insights, now we begin to do what we call map, match, and merge. And the idea here is to take data from all these different places and unify it. And we do that by mapping all these source systems to a common data model. All right, so to make things easier for this mapping, we can use artificial intelligence, and that will automate the attribute mapping. But in this case, notice a couple of things to notice. In our CRM, the full name field is called full name, and it maps to this field in our common data model. Whereas in our EMR, the full name field is called full underscore name, but that maps to the same. That's what we need to figure out. That maps to the same full name. So that's kind of done using artificial intelligence. And then once that mapping is complete, now we use match to connect the various identities that are coming in from these disparate systems. So for example, is the contact Bob Smith the same person as the patient identified as Robert Smith, right? So we have artificial intelligence that we can utilize also for matching. And here I'm doing a full name match of contacts in my CRM with patients in my EMR. And I can use what's called fuzzy logic algorithms to specify either an exact match. So in that case, Bob Smith and Robert Smith would not be seen as the same person, or I can kind of dial it back, to match with a lower confidence level. And then what I would do is I would preview the results to make sure that what I'm getting is acceptable. And I'm able to build multiple rules so that I can get the match the way I want it. Again, no code required. So essentially, anyone who understands your data, and that would typically be a data analytics person in marketing, can build out these match rules. And then once I get the match results that I'm looking for, now I need to merge it all together because I have multiple systems containing, for instance, a full name, and I need to boil it down to one, to our canonical or a single data model. In a nutshell, then, merge consolidates repetitive data that's coming in from various systems down to a single unified profile. And then after we get done mapping and matching and merging, now we can enrich the data, which is something we talked about a little earlier. So I mentioned that we can enrich our first-party data, that's all that engagement data, all the data that lives within our own organization, with third-party data. And there are several different sources that are used here. For example, we've added demographic data from Experian. We've also enriched it with something we talked about earlier, Microsoft's own proprietary data that identifies affinities for particular brands or affinities for, for interests. So you can then overlay those brands and interests onto your patient profile. And customer insights comes with these out-of-the-box machine learning models. So there's customer churn, product recommendations, customer lifetime value. So based on historical transactions, we can use these models to enrich our unified profiles and predict things like the likelihood of a customer to churn, or we can recommend products. And beyond our out-of-the-box machine learning models, the real power of the Microsoft platform is that you can also bring in your own custom models, or you can build your own using Azure Synapse. So when needed, we can create our own custom models and push those propensity scores back onto our unified customer profile. I mentioned measures when we talked about creating a digital twin, and these are some examples of some measures. So, if you do a survey, you can pull in survey information to create a CSAT score, or to determine a net promoter score, or customer lifetime value. I can do things like, understand the propensity of someone to miss an appointment. So, these are very important kind of measurements to understand about each individual. And even more importantly, I can then use these measures to create segments. And again, no code is needed. And you can build very sophisticated segments. So let me pull up this one. So, I can pull any of the values from any of the data sets that I've merged into Customer Insights as part of my segment. So this is a very simple segment, but basically it's a female who's pregnant. That's going to make our, that this is part of our new propensity, our new mom event propensity. But I could be pulling in much more data if I wanted to and create more rules. I can do unions, I can do intersects, I can do exceptions. Again, we can get very sophisticated with no code in creating any type of customer segmentation. So now that we have all this data together, let's finally take a look at what a unified customer profile is going to look like. So again, this application is intended for data managers. This is not something, the view that you're going to look at in a moment is not something your end users in the marketing group are going to access. This is definitely a data manager's tool, not a technical person, but someone who's, sort of marketing analytics. And then in a second, I'm going to drill into this a little bit more in a mocked up Power BI view of this profile so that you can understand what that end user's perspective is. But first, as a data manager, I want to make sure that the data and the relationships that we establish to create this unified profile are giving us what we would expect. So let's take a look at Maria Bravo's card. Remember, she's our young mom pregnant with her second child. So we've unified all the demographic data into one canonical model for our patient. Over here are all the activities we've pulled in from transactional systems viewed in a timeline. I have icons here that will allow me to filter down. So if I only want to see emails, or maybe I want to see emails and prescriptions. So I have that option to view that within the timeline. And then over here on the right, we see things like churn risk, CSAT score, risk analysis, missed appointments, all the measures that we've pulled in and put onto our customer card. So we've used all this data to create rich segments, and then we'll pass that along to marketing so that they can reach out to these patients and also to unknown customers with personalized engagement. And to an earlier point, this data could be pushed, these kinds of measures can be pushed to whoever needs to see that data to improve the customer experience. Remember, we're talking about an experience-centric mindset. So the last thing I want to show you then are our connectors. We talked about how to get data in. What about the connections coming out? So here are all of our out-of-the-box connectors. We have, including that we have connectors to Facebook Ads Manager, we have connector to Google Ads. So if you've created segments and you wanted to specifically target patients like Maria, we've made it easier to push those segments to various marketing destinations. And as you might expect, that would include Dynamics 365 marketing, which represents the next phase of Maria's journey with Contoso Health. So before we continue with the end user perspective, I want to just take a pause here for a moment. Any questions that have come up in chat? Have we been able to address them in chat? Anything we want to discuss?
Yeah, Andy, there was a good one about storage, and I think Scott, one of the other Microsoft experts, is on the webinar as well, so Scott might take this one. But the question is, where is that unified profile stored? Scott, do you mind taking that question?
You bet. Thanks, Jake. So that's stored in Azure Data Lakes. So you have the sort of the power, the security, the strength of Azure kind of sitting behind all of this. So, transiting things like PHI is always going to be safe and comfortable for us. And then you also have the ability to bring your own data lake if that isn't an option that kind of fits your architecture. So one of the value adds here is that this is going to be a flexible solution to work with you, kind of playing friendly with Microsoft or potentially reaching into data sources that are non-Microsoft. We like to think of this as a bit more agnostic.
Thanks, Scott. And I'm not sure if you want to take the next one or if Andy, you want to take this one, but the tool that you showed looks really good for like citizen data scientists, a lot of folks that are possibly working in the business units. And you mentioned briefly Synapse. You mentioned briefly there's some out of the box AI models, but what about folks that have professional data scientists on staff? Is this it, or can they extend what we're seeing here into what we would call more professional data science tools?
It can absolutely be extended. And I mentioned it briefly, but I kind of went through it quickly. But you can bring in custom models. You can use Azure Synapse to develop your own models, but you can absolutely. So, and the premise of the question is entirely correct. Customer Insights is designed for a savvy marketing analytics person, not a highly technical user. If you have those data scientists, if you have those custom models that you want to bring in, you can absolutely bring them into Customer Insights and use them.
Thanks, Andy. And for the benefit of our audience, Azure Synapse, probably another webinar in the future, but that is Microsoft's advanced analytics platform. I think that's it for the Q&A for now, Andy, if you want to get back to the presentation.
Sure, thanks. So we took a look at Customer Insights from the perspective of that marketing analytics user. Now let's see what a unified profile might look like to your end users when it's rendered inside of a Power BI dashboard. So, we've seen how we can take data from all these different sources, pull it all together, and create a unified profile. Well, here's Maria Bravo's Patient 360. Only now it's in the form of a Power BI dashboard, which is ultimately how your end users are going to see this data. So what do we know about Maria? Well, we know from her activity timeline that she's highly engaged. We're tracking those engagements like this virtual event she attended. We see that she completed a survey. She had an appointment with Dr. Killen. We see that she has affinities for parenting and community service. And we've even predicted what her favorite appointment time might be and her preferred channel. Again, all in the name of an experience-centric mindset. We've derived a Net Promoter Score from Maria's survey responses. I can see that she ranks low for breast cancer propensity. She scores high on engagement. And it's interesting because, the premise here was that we were engaging with Maria as an unknown patient, but when we connect all the dots, what we discover is that she'd actually been a patient in the past. So somehow she'd gotten lost in the shuffle, but after pulling all these pieces together, now I see revenue from past visits across the organization. And from this and other factors, we're able to assess Maria's customer lifetime value, which is a really important measure when we're building out segments and trying to determine where we want to spend our marketing dollars. And because of the data we've aggregated, we can predict that Maria would benefit from this New Moms event. And ultimately, she's going to receive an email with a link inviting her to register. And because of all this information, Maria is placed into these segments. She's in the New Moms event segment. That's why she saw an ad for that event on Facebook. She completed a survey, so she's put into the highly engaged segment. Artificial intelligence is telling us she might like to do a virtual tour. And based on her Net Promoter Score, she's also a part of our high NPS segment. In the past, we've had to make really important decisions based on limited measures that resulted in very generic insights. So maybe we knew her gender and we knew where Maria lives, but that was kind of it. Now, when we add all this information from her rich profile, her customer lifetime value prediction, her low breast cancer risk, her OBGYN appointment, her propensity for the New Moms event, now we're able to use these measures to create a very personalized segment and then map that segment to a campaign. At the same time, we've identified Maria's preferred channels, and we'll take very specific actions based on that. And finally, we can map all these important engagements to a personalized patient journey that's built specifically for Maria using Dynamics 365 marketing. So you're looking at a screenshot of a journey from Dynamics marketing that's populated with a micro segment of new moms that was sent over from Customer Insights. So these two applications, Customer Insights and Dynamics 365 marketing, work hand in hand to microsegment our patients and then use that segment to drive a marketing journey. Dayton Children's Hospital is an example of a healthcare organization that's using Customer Insights to improve the patient experience. You know, as you probably imagine, patients and their families interact with Dayton Children's in a lot of different ways, you know, in-person visits, various digital applications. To track all these encounters and create a unified 360-degree patient profile, the hospital deployed Customer Insights. So now they combine data from multiple sources into a HIPAA-compliant, highly secure, single source of truth about patient interactions. And they use this data to improve the patient experience across every channel and every touch point. So in today's presentation, we walked through a high-level overview of Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, which again is part of Microsoft's Customer Data Platform that will help you deliver personalized patient experiences. And as your organization evolves towards that experience-centric mindset, from profile creation to end-user visualization, this platform provides insight into who your patients are and how they like to engage. So that concludes the presentation for today. I want to thank you for your time and attention. I'm happy to take any questions outstanding or any questions that may have come up.
Yeah, Andy, and the Dayton Children's case study is posted in the chat window for anyone attending, and it will be part of the slide post event on the blog. But we've also chatted in the window a couple other case studies. Obviously, Dayton Children's is a provider customer of Microsoft's. MVP Healthcare would be a good example of customer data platform and use, Customer Insights and use for a health plan. And for anybody joining us from a foundation or a fundraising team, we also posted a customer example with the Arthritis Foundation. So these can be use cases across multiple businesses, as Andy shared, but also different customer use cases within the healthcare arena. We did have a couple other questions come up, and I think I might invite Scott to come back on and ask this one. Really, actually good technical question. But would a CDP, would Customer Insights solve for MDM? Would it solve for master data management? Can you share a little bit what this is and how it might be different from MDM, Scott?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Jake. And that is a really good question. It's an important distinction because when we talk about that unified member profile or the unified patient customer profile, obviously master data management and the customer data platform can both kind of have a role to play, but there is a bit of a distinction. So when we talk about MDM, master data management, it has a little bit more to do with the connections, the integrations, and actually enforcing rules and being actively involved in that integration process. So we have a high degree of confidence that Contoso company in my ERP is the same as Contoso company in my CRM company. There's a single deduplicated record that if we're passing back transactional information among, we're not going to get our wires crossed or lose any of that. A CDP is similar. However, it is more, you can think of it as an aggregator and a view. And the benefit there is a CDP we talked about those enrichment data sources. Those may not be inside of your four walls where you're integrating with them with, using APIs and things like that, but they might still be available for you to have in that read-only or aggregated view of your member profile. And then you can use that to take action in your various systems. The other piece that a customer data platform and Customer Insights is doing is it's less of an enforcement and a strict rules-based engine like MDM might be, and it's actually using artificial intelligence to do a little bit of fuzzy matching to try to ensure that Scott Dwyer's profile, for example, myself, is, we have as much data about me, the person, as possible, regardless of where it comes from. However, it does not have that degree of rigor where we're sort of creating each match rule and each criteria. So it should be considered separate from your MDM strategy, even if the output and that member profile may start to feel like it's merging the two experiences and merging the two functionalities.
Yeah, I would just add that there may still be a place for an MDM initiative, but really Customer Insights is designed to eliminate the need to do that to create these kinds of insights, right? So you still might want to be cross-pollinating data from various systems, but this is doing it in a way without having to grab data in that manner, to be pulling it into this application to create these insights all in one place. So it for purposes of creating insights, this would be a more efficient tool for you to use than these very costly and time-consuming MDM initiatives.
Great, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Andy. Another question I think is a good one is we focused a lot on the customer singular. Does this work for accounts as well, for organizations? Can we build a unified profile around a company, not necessarily a person like a Maria, for example?
I'm not 100% sure. Scott, do you know the answer to that?
I do not. I'm going to have to kick that one back to you, Jake. I apologize.
Well, I have good news for you, fellas. Last release of Customer Insights, we are doing account-based as well. So we can post that link in the chat window, but that is a recent release.
Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing that on the last call that we did on the new release. Yeah, that's why I was unclear on it.
Oh, yeah. This is and maybe that's a good point. This is a product that receives releases just like the other Dynamics platform, two releases per year. So this is a product that's going to keep getting better with new releases twice a year. So there you go. Real-time updates on product releases. It's not just for B2C, but B2B as well. Last question I'm seeing in the window here, the user interface that you were showing, Andy, that's obviously the back end, right? So, is there anything else that you can add around the action layer? Is it the connectors that you showed? How do we make this real for folks that might be on the care team and the different departments? What's the best way that we get all these insights that come out of the CDP and act on them within the rest of the organization?
Well, there's different ways to push the data out. If you recall, there was that was the last section I saw, the connectors going out. So I think that if the connectors aren't available that you saw in that group, and there's quite a few of them there, it's not a heavy lift to create connectors that would go out to different kinds of systems. I mean, if it's within the Dynamics family, it would probably be fairly straightforward. But it's not a heavy lift to create additional connectors if what we have out of the box is not what you need.
Great. So if there's existing technology which is already in their action layer, we can connect to that. We can push those insights right into that action layer. And if there's channels that need to be added that may not be in the existing stack, then that's where those additional modules that Microsoft provides can come in to help.
I would also just add to that a little bit, Jake.
Yeah.
We'll be cleaning up that interface and sort of providing those role and persona specific insights so that everything is relevant across. We don't want to give a customer service insight to a seller or vice versa. So we're always going to be creating those persona and role based experiences that help to ease the burden on the end user as much as possible.
Great. Perfect. Thanks, team, and appreciate the audience for the interaction today. A lot of great questions. Again, these resources will be posted in this deck in our blog. The recording of this will be posted if you want to socialize it. with the broader team. But takeaway from the day is just how do we take all this fragmented data that lives pretty much everywhere in most likely silos in our existing organizations, bring it together, create that segment of one, that n equals 1, and then do that hyper personalization at scale. How do we create that empathy at scale and empower our users, our care team, and our patients and members and customers in that experience economy and that experience-driven journey. So thank you again to all of our healthcare heroes out there, and thanks for everyone joining today.
Thanks, everybody.